Scariest videos on the internet? Part I don't know. This man heard something weird coming down from his basement, so he decided to go investigate. Check out what he found.
If you're ever walking down the street or at a random place and out of nowhere run into a loved one that is now gesturing you to follow them, just blindly, I would definitely question it. It may actually be a D word taking the form of your loved one in order to get you alone. Story time, this person wants to be anonymous, so let's call her Lila. When Lila was about 11 years old, she was living in Malaysia with her family. They lived in an apartment building on the 12th floor. One day, she's walking home from school when she happens to look across the street and sees a woman standing there that looks just like her mother. The woman smiles at her and starts gesturing for her to follow her. Just as Lila is getting ready to cross the street, her brother stops her and goes, "Where are you going? We're supposed to be walking home. Home is this way." Lila then responds with, "Don't you see Mom? She's standing over there telling us to follow her." Her brother then goes, "What do you mean? There is no one over there." Lila decided to brush off the experience and go home and act as if nothing had happened. Until a couple weeks later, she's sleeping in her room when she gets woken up by someone tapping on her leg. When she opens her eyes, she looks up and sees this creepy old lady standing there wearing her mom's clothes. This creepy old lady then starts to tell Lila to follow her out into the balcony. Now mind you, her family lived on the 12th floor. Lila, of course, screams and wakes up her whole family. They all run in there and this creepy old lady is nowhere to be found. They automatically assume that she must have had a nightmare and decided to brush it off once again. Until one night, Lila's mom wakes up to Lila sleepwalking towards the balcony. When her mom shook her awake, Lila told her that her mom had been the one that had been holding her hand, walking her towards the balcony. This is impossible due to the fact that her mom had been asleep the whole time. This really started to scare Lila's mom, so she decided to take Lila to the temple so they could pray over her. Just a few days later, Lila wakes up screaming at the top of her lungs. She keeps saying that she sees the creepy old lady right outside of her window, dressed in her mom's clothes, telling her to come outside. Now, once again, they lived on the 12th floor, so there was no humanly possible way that a human could be just floating on the 12th floor. At that point, Lila ended up going back to the temple where they did a full cleansing and came to the home and they spread holy water all over it, just really clearing out any type of negativity or just negative energy that could have been left by this creepy old lady. The temple then told her mom that this creepy old lady that she had continued to encounter over and over again was actually a D word that took the form of a human in order to capture their victim. From that point forward, Lila's mom had 5 golden rules to follow to prevent anything like that from ever happening again. Let me know if you guys are interested in hearing them. I mean, these are 5 things that I've never personally heard of, but they're very true to Lila's heart and her culture.
This is one of the most compelling cases for time travel that I've ever seen. So back in the 50s, this guy flew into an airport in Japan, and he was like a normal looking guy, middle-aged, white, dark hair, and he was going through the lines, and the passport checker was looking at it. He kind of looked at it, looked up, and he was like, "Where are you from?" He said, "The Kingdom of Turid." The guy's like, I've never heard of that. I mean, there's hundreds of countries. They asked him into this little back room, and they're like, "Can you point this out on a map?" He's like, "Of course." And he points, and it's right in between Spain and France, and there is a country there. It's called Andorra. He's like, "I've never heard of Andorra." And they're like, "Turid doesn't exist." And he's like, "The Kingdom of Turid has been around for over 1,000 years. And when they're looking at this passport, it has stamps in it. It all looks legit. His money, he has currency from different countries, including Turid, that looks like real money. And his checkbook is from a bank that doesn't even exist. They're talking to him. They're like, "Where are you staying? We need to verify this." And so he tells them about how he was just on the phone with them this morning. And they call. They have no record of him ever calling.
At first glance, Whitewater, Wisconsin seems to be your typical small Midwestern college town. But if you dig a bit deeper, you'll realize it's anything but. It's been dubbed the Second Salem, and the town of Whitewater is shrouded in a dark, eerie history. It's teeming with stories of witches, ghostly apparitions, curses, and unexplainable supernatural events. The notoriously haunted town has long attracted lore and legends. Some mysterious, others downright spine-chilling. Whitewater is a town with many dark secrets. I'm Avery Ross, and this is Avery After Dark. Welcome back to the show. You're in for a real treat with today's episode. First up, we're talking about a hauntingly spooky little town in Wisconsin, because let's be real, a story about a haunted house? Amazing. But a story about an entire haunted town? Come on now. Fascinating. There's something about those certain parts of the world that we live in that just seem to attract ghostly activity like a magnet. They become legendary. And after that, we have a chilling story of one Hawaiian police officer's encounter with the paranormal. As she was out on patrol alone one evening, something happened that she will never forget. You all asked for more ghost stories, so I'm giving them to you. And that's what you get for running around a cemetery at night. A girl recalled a chilling experience she had one evening and said, "We were driving my friend's really old Subaru through a massive graveyard. We stopped and walked down a hill and came across a little pond, and there was someone sitting on a rock on the other side of the pond. We couldn't make out any features other than the fact it looked like it was a man who was wearing some old-style top hat. We stupidly waved and shouted, 'Hi!' He didn't show any acknowledgement and continued sitting on the rock. All of a sudden, he jumped to his feet, started running towards us on the water, and then vanished. My friends and I screamed and ran back to the car. But when we got there, the car wouldn't start. And then, every few seconds, we'd start to hear loud bangs coming from the back of the car. It was dark, we couldn't see anybody, but felt like someone was behind us. None of us had any cell service, and the next 30 minutes were spent trying to get our car started. Finally, she got the car started and hit the pedal to the metal. We sped out of the graveyard so fast. Immediately after crossing the gates, all of our phones regained cell service. I was terrified, and one thing I know for certain is that someone or something out there was not animal or human." Ever had anything spooky happen to you in a graveyard?
This is maybe the scariest urban legend I've ever heard, and it ended up being true. Back in the 1970s, there was this terrifying fun house in Long Beach, California called The Laugh in the Dark. And there was always this urban legend that all the mannequins inside were fake, except for one. Also, mind you, this is what this week's episode is about, so if you don't want spoilers, just listen to the episode. This urban legend came to be because there was one mannequin inside that just looked wrong. All of the other ones looked fake, but this one in particular looked way too human. And a bunch of the kids also said the area that the mannequin was in just smelled really, really bad. So a few years go by, and one day a film crew comes in and is using Laugh in the Dark for a film set. The director's lining up a shot, and he just doesn't like the way this one mannequin looks in frame. So he goes over to a crew member and he's like, "Hey, can you just move this out of the shot?" So the crew member goes over and starts moving the mannequin when its arm pops off. And inside of the mannequin's arm is human bone. The kids had been totally right. The mannequin was a mummified body. There's so much more to this story, like who the person was and how they got there, and I talk about the whole thing this week on the episode.
This ghostly footage will blow your mind. A Bangkok Airways pilot sat in his aircraft and filmed what looks like dozens of people exiting a plane. Passengers are seen towing their luggage through a connecting bridge, except this jet bridge was empty. It wasn't connected to a plane, leaving viewers completely baffled as to where the ghostly passengers were coming from. The footage is chilling, and hauntingly, the figures appear to be floating, not walking. The pilot posted the video online, and it sparked a debate. Some say this is just an optical illusion. Others believe these figures are ghosts, spirits caught on film. So ghosts or an optical illusion? What do we think?
When summer ends, it always leaves a mark, so we can find our way back to the water. But we take our time and lay out on the dock like two cold-blooded souls in need of warmth. We'll take everything that you want, you can have it, and I'll brush the sand from my clothes. No need to be ladylike, even